Welcome to the Manna at the Top podcast, a space where we can look together for the spiritual nourishment we need for the soul. I'm Gloria, your fellow traveler on this spiritual journey, and I'm here to guide us through our daily manna, offering insights and interpretations to feed our spiritual growth. Today, on this fifth week after Pentecost, Friday, June the 28th, 2024, the lectionary text is 1 Samuel chapter 20, verses 1 to 25. We have followed Saul's life since we first met him looking for his father's donkeys with one of his servants. They looked for 3 days, but were never in the right place at the right time to find them. After running into some young women and asking them for the home of the seer who might help them find the donkeys, Saul spoke to Samuel, who was the seer. Samuel told Saul the donkeys had been found, but he was glad to meet him because he had been the people's choice to be Israel's first king. Saul was tall, dark, and handsome, head and shoulders higher than anyone in Israel. He came from a prominent family of the tribe of Benjamin, and from the exterior, he seemed to be the right person for the warrior job. They were enemies to be fought, especially the Philistine giant Goliath. But on the inside, Saul was timid, disobedient, unwilling to be guided by Samuel the prophet, priest, and judge appointed by God to take the people through the transition from a loosely tribal group to a nation. It wasn't working for God. So he removed his spirit from Saul and sent Samuel to Jesse's home to find a replacement for Saul. David, the last of Jesse's sons, was chosen. He was short in stature and he had a big heart for following after God. As we open our lectionary text, David is asking Jonathan what he has done to cause Saul, his father, to want to kill him. Jonathan and David had a friendship that made Jonathan side with David against his father, and he was always protecting David from his father. David was very afraid of Saul's madness, and this caused him to always be in flight mode, running away from Saul. It took Jonathan a while, though, to realize that his father was so unkind to David, and we listened into a conversation between them. David asserted that if he was guilty, Jonathan should kill him rather than hand him over to his father Saul. Jonathan showed his commitment to David by saying, "No, God forbid." Jonathan would not entertain the notion that David was guilty. Instead, he maintained that David was innocent and had done no wrong against Saul. David and Jonathan decided to go into the field, probably to avoid anyone listening in to their conversation. And David had devised a plan to uncover Saul's true intentions. He planned to miss a royal dinner, allowing Jonathan to observe his father's reaction and report back to David. As the day unfolds, David's chair remained conspicuously empty at the table. The lectionary reading leaves us hanging, our curiosity piqued. What will Saul do when he sees David's chair unoccupied? What is one to do when Jonathan is caught between loyalty to his father and his friendship with David? Let's turn our attention to the moment Jonathan and David go into the field together, as Jonathan will ask David for a special favor. In ancient times, when a new king came to the throne, the family of the previous kings were considered the enemy and they would be killed. Jonathan asked David to show kindness to him when he comes to the throne. He then asked David to show his family kindness even when all of David's other enemies are destroyed. It was in the field that Jonathan made a covenant with David's house for the future and said that his family would never consider David an enemy. This was a divine moment, a prophetic moment, as Jonathan had David reaffirm the oath between them out of his love for David, because he loved him as he loved himself. The meaning of Jonathan's name is gift of God. He was the first child of a king mentioned in the Bible, and as such, he should have succeeded his father, King Saul. But he was so unlike his father. David described Jonathan as being lovely and pleasant. He was courageous because he trusted in God and had a relationship with God, seeking his direction about attacking the Philistines without consulting his father. There were no pangs of jealousy against David, and Jonathan ceded his claim to power over to David to be the next king, and he recognized David's greatness. Jonathan's love for David allowed him to go against his father in order to protect David. He was a man of faith and a picture of quiet confidence, even as his father disrespected him and cursed his mother. Jonathan continued to respect his father. He did not compromise his convictions, and he maintained his integrity.